Good afternoon. Is Eric Scheimoler here? He's going to do our invocation today. Newest member.
Thank you. Thanks to Stu for helping me out with the text here. Yesterday is history, and tomorrow will be part of history, whatever may happen, either close to home or far away in the world we inhabit. When one considers all that happened before we were born and what has happened since, one can wonder if we will ever learn from our mistakes. So many wars and cruel ways in which people have been treated. We have a greater understanding of human nature and never treat people as atrocities. Father, bless the historians among us who research the past and make visible the lessons learned so we may avoid future bad behavior. Father, thank you for the many who, through the centuries, have made a positive impact in this world. Thank you for the godly men and women who, by your grace, have rewritten history books by their actions. You're called to go into the world. We praise you and give thanks for the good example they have shown and the difference they have made. Lord, we pray each of us would leave the imprint and legacy of your love and mercy on our spheres of influence. Those who come after us will look back one day and say they made a difference. And we pray.
Thank you, Eric. Our song leader today is Sidra King. Yay! Someone who can sing.
We're going to do something different today than we've done in a long time. I don't think we've ever done it. It's the Battle Hymn of the Republic. And probably everybody knows the words. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. He has trampled out the vintage where the grapes of wrath are stored. He has used the faithful lightning of his terrible swift sword. His truth is marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. His truth is marching on.
Thank you, Sidra. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Our Sergeant at Arms today is Randy Campanelli.
Ciao, Bella.
Ciao. We have an international table today. Come up and see Bob Warner.
I think we are back. Of course, Murray is always here. But, we have from Mexico, Dr. Perez, and he's going to say a couple of words to us.
Thank you. My name is Adrian Perez. My nickname is Hunter. I am the president of my club. I'm from Nuevo Casas Grandes, is my city, Chihuahua State. Maybe you have heard from Paquime. That's the area where I come from. So you're welcome to visit Paquime in the Copper Canyon. It's very famous in Chihuahua State. So I'm the president, like I said, and I'm just visiting here in Las Vegas for my 30 wedding anniversary.
Hey,
So thank you for having me today.
it's a pleasure to have you.
He comes from a cattle country, and a lot of alfalfa is probably going to send to different countries, or you keep that yourself. Keep yourself. And then, of course, our Canadian friend, Murray.
Just happy to be here.
Thank you. Of course, Annie Nuna from France. And Bob Werner from Switzerland.
We are international here. So I have an international friend, but she lives here in Las Vegas, and she's one of the wonderful friends that I have. She's a consul general for Romania. She's also a member of the trustee of Las Vegas Philharmonic, and she's the president of the Romanian Orthodox Church, and she also ran. She also ran for president in Romania, and she came in third, which is very, very impressive. And I have a little story to tell you about the Queen of Romania. They were here in Las Vegas, and my friend was Romanian. We had lunch with them. And at that time, they asked me if I could make reservations for them to see Siegfried and Roy. And I said, sure. So I made the arrangement. And then I went about my day. And then I get home, and there is a message from the Queen asking me to join them for the show. And I said to my husband, I can't do that. I'm leaving at 7 a.m. to Paris. He said, how many queens in your lifetime are going to call you and leave you a message to go with them to the show? So we did go to the show, and I have beautiful pictures with them, and it was a great souvenir, and he was right. Thank you.
Our very own Annie Nuna, she's famous.
Do we have visiting Rotarians today? Other visiting Rotarians?
Over here.
Hi, great to be here. I'm Ed Gregory. Been here a few times before. I've been in Rotary now 59 years. Haven't missed a meeting in 59 years, a weekly meeting. And so thank you guys for having your club here so we can make up every time we come down to Las Vegas. Rotary District 5960 now has Rotary Passport. The Rotary Passport is done through the signing of the Rotary meeting. And in our district, they have a stamp with a stamp. The person that has the most Rotary meetings this year so far is 36 stamps. Great to be here. My son is with me. I'm 92 years old and need a son to travel with me. And to be my eyes. Great to be here.
You look great. You look fabulous.
Welcome, Ed.
Any others? Visiting Rotarians?
Do we have any guests of Rotarians? Yes, we
There we
do.
go.
Nikki, pay attention to me so I don't mess this up. Thank you. Everyone pretty much knows Liz. She's still technically a guest, but she has one of her dear friends in town with her. This is April, so she's joining us today. And then I have a guest. This is Dave Johnson, childhood friend, former business partner, and still at college.
Good afternoon, Rotarians. It's my great pleasure to introduce the guests for the club. Alden Crowley from Another Joy Foundation and his son Aiden. And years ago, Alden was a guest speaker here, and we followed that up with them giving tens of thousands of dollars to our at-risk schools. And then we did we joined them in a partnership project to the Philippines with Manny Pacquiao. So it's my honor to introduce them back to the club.
Welcome.
And we're going to see him again in a minute.
Hi, I'm Gary Voss. I have as my guest here today a young lady who is a native Nevadan. and she has some ties to Rotary. President Katie knows her because,
Since the day she was born.
well, I was going to say her daughter Alex and Laura have been friends. Great.
Since the day they were
I
born.
know her because her daughter, I'm sorry, my daughter and she, my daughter Brandy and she, her name is Laura Goulet, by the way. We're like, as they say, joined at the hip. From first grade on, kindergarten. And occasionally they would get into trouble. Well,
I got
maybe
stories.
more than occasionally. Anyway, if you look on your wheels on the past presidents, 1946, 47, Maxwell Kelch, that's her grandfather. And then, give or take a half a century later, her grandmother, Laura Bell Kelch, Max Kelch's widow, was the first woman admitted to the Las Vegas Rotary. So my guess, Laura Goulet.
I know she came and helped us at Santa Claus, and we need to get her involved and spread the word. Just saying.
Any other guests of Rotary?
Do we have guests of the club today? Did we already do that? Okay.
I think everybody's been accounted for. So Brian Morris is here and Liz Rothwell is here. But they've already, well, maybe Jason didn't introduce Brian. Oh, well, Brian Morris is joining us again. But
Thank
Okay.
you. Okay. Let me take a minute and introduce our head table then, most of whom you've already met. We have Mark Hall Patton, who will be more fully introduced in a few minutes. Greg McGuire is our speaker chairman. Gary Voss, you just heard from, and Laura Gubler. Take a quick picture. Is Tom Thomas here? Okay. Tony, will you come up? We have a presentation to make to spread the word Nevada.
good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. It is my pleasure to have here today two of the leadership personnel from Spread the Word Nevada, with whom we have an amazing and longstanding relationship. Spread the Word Nevada has done many great things consistent with our mission statement. For them, it's putting a book in the hand of every child from Southern Nevada to Northern Nevada. So here today is Taylor Palmer. She is the Director of Development, and Chandy Oshira, the Development Manager. And on behalf of the Las Vegas Rotary Club, in conjunction with Tom Thomas, it is indeed my pleasure to once again sponsor Beckley with $25,000. You will see in a moment a brief little PowerPoint, and Taylor will give a little explanation. But what our money does for Beckley Elementary, it sponsors several programs, Kids to Kids, which Taylor will tell you about, and the Breakfast with Books program. It also provides for giving books again into the hands of kids with more detail.
You can introduce me anytime you want. She's great at this. Thank you very much for having us out again this year. It's always so much fun. It's a real treat for Shandy and I, any of us, to come out to these lunches and show you a little bit of how your donations have impacted our schools. So I'll just run you through really quickly. This is some general information just about us. We're Nevada's largest children's literacy nonprofit. We were founded in 2001. Just this month, I don't even think Shandy knows this yet, we hit our 7 millionth book distributed. Yes, so we've been really getting it hard, and we've served almost 800,000 children since 2001. Right now, we're in 68 different schools throughout the state. We've got 56 of them down here in Clark County, 8 of them in Washoe County, and we just expanded to 4 in Elko County also this year. So you will tell it's been a big year of growth for us as Spread the Word Nevada. So we do that through our 4 different programs: Kids to Kids, which is our monthly book distribution. Every child at every school gets to pick out a book of their choosing. That's the important part, is we send hundreds of titles and they get to pick whatever book they want. Then our Family Literacy program, which is formerly our Breakfast with Books program. That's our family literacy event where we have the kids come with their parents, mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle, whoever, and we do like a little laugh time with them, read stories, they get snacks, copies of the book that they're reading. Our Books and Buddies program is another one of my favorites, which I know a handful of you who I see in here volunteer at. So that's our one-on-one mentoring with a struggling reader. We pair you up. And then I think that's secretly my favorite program. I do love Books and Buddies so much. And then Readers in Training. This is our newest program. This is our Birth to 5 program. So if we have babies living in families that qualify under the HUD guidelines, then we get to enroll them if they want to, and we get to send them a book every single month that is developmentally appropriate. So lots of great stuff happening. Unfortunately, right, Nevada is not revered for our education. In 2019, only 47% of Nevada third graders could read at grade level. Third grade's that sort of pivotal year where it's not by third grade, that's a big predictor for them falling behind. Unfortunately, after COVID, that number's dropped down to about 32%. So about 2 out of 3 kids aren't reading at grade level. So we know that's a huge problem. And that's where, like, you guys step in to sort of help us combat that. So you guys have been sponsoring our Kids to Kids and Family Literacy program at Beckley for 8 years now. So yes, absolutely. Those are just more descriptions. But our partnership this year alone, through the Kids to Kids program, your money has helped provide 5,467 books just through the Kids to Kids program, and over 400 books through our Family Literacy program. So it's thousands and thousands of books, 5,868 to be exact. So we are just so, so grateful. And this doesn't even include the countless volunteer hours that I know so many of you invest into our one-on-one mentoring program. So we just want to say thank you very, very much, and hope you know just how impactful your dollars are. And if you ever get the chance or you want to come volunteer, I know Tony will take you. It's a lot of fun to come out and see the kids pick out their books. So we'd love to have you. And thank you for returning the favor and having us today. It's great. Thank you.
Okay, announcements. Sean has an announcement to make. Sean,
Uh-oh, I got it.
you better listen. Okay, how many of you have not received the green book in the last 2 weeks? Raise your hand. Don't be afraid, because we're going to start a new method. It doesn't matter where you sit. It does not matter where you sit from week to week. You can change tables. We want you to do that. But the green book, if it goes in one direction and comes back up, everyone will get it. So it's going to start here and go down. Table to table to table to the back. Back. Now we're going to start coming back up. Woohoo! Woohoo! Woo! And even the head table may get it if you keep it going. And then it ends here with me. So no matter where you sit, please help us get this around so that people have a chance to sign up for all the great things that we're doing in the community.
Thank you, Sean.
Hey, Sean, how does that work again?
Okay, Jim Hunt next week is going to give us a wrap up with the cigar social from last Saturday that was very, very well attended and very fun. Antoinette Monroe is going to make the announcement for the 25 Club.
Where'd you go, Antoinette? Oh, there
There
you
she is.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Our next club meeting will be at John Williams' home on Thursday, April 6th at 6 p.m. It's going to be a Hawaiian style potluck. So the more the merrier. Please come out. We always have a great time, not just for the 25 Club. Bring a spouse and come join us. Like I said, April 6th, 6 p.m. John Williams' home. Also, as a reminder, we have the oral history project that the 25 Club has been putting on. It is ongoing. If you've already been contacted and responded back, thank you so much for performing those interviews for us. If you're a 25 Club member and you have not participated and you would like to participate, please get with Debbie Howard and she would be happy to set you guys up. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Antoinette. Jackie Thornhill.
I see her. Hang on.
Okay.
Thank you, President Katie. Back by popular demand, and finally, we are back at Nellis Air Force Base for the Wetzel Awards, which will be on Thursday, April 13th. Please sign up in the Green Book so we know how many people need transportation into the base. Those of you that have your own base credentials, you know you can go ahead. I've been fortunate enough to contact the Wetzel family, and thankfully they are all with us, and they are going to be attending that day as well. So if you haven't been one to a meeting, come out. The visitor center is at Las Vegas Boulevard and Craig Road. Park out in the parking lot, and one of us will be there to make sure that you get base transportation. Be there at 2:30 sharp. If you're going to be late, let us know, because we need to start the ceremony right at 3 p.m. So come on out and support our military. Yes, Janice. I explained a little bit last week, but the Scotty Wetzel was a retired lieutenant colonel, a ace fighter pilot, and a member of this club back in the early 2000s. He wanted to do something for Nellis, and unfortunately, he passed away unexpectedly. So, board of directors at that time still went forward with the awards as we know them today, and they were named in his honor. His picture comes up on the screen from time to time, but basically it's to celebrate the airmen who are kind of the unsung heroes out at Nellis and Creech. So that's what that's all about. So come on out and join us and support our military.
And I would like to say, Scotty Wetzel, and you can find me for this, I'll take it. But as the Air Force pilots have taught me, Scotty Wetzel was a shit hot pilot.
Thanks, Janice or Jackie, for getting that back together again. Janice, centennial announcement.
It should be St. Janice.
Thank you. I just don't like to have my back to this table. I think if I have the math right, we're like 9 days away from our celebration. Oh my gosh. So this, I'll probably get a little emotional, but this committee has been absolutely amazing at pulling this all together, working day and night. And on behalf of all of us, thank you guys for everything. And Sean, oh my gosh, we talk late at night, we talk in the morning, we email all day. I feel like Katie and you. I cannot thank you enough. Without you, your support, helping us get housekeeping things in line the few weeks leading up to. So thank you, Sean. And there's nothing else to say about the celebration other than you don't want to miss this. And I told Sean, I'm like a little kid today, we are sold out of this event. And we have a waiting list. Oh my God. We have a waiting list for the event. I just got a text with 4 more people that want to come. And not to say, if you have not signed up, there's nothing in the green book. Please call Sean. We'll figure something out. But you will get the Janice surprise entree if you haven't signed up. We're still determining what that is. And there's a meeting today no, I can't raise the price. We're meeting today in the vintage room. And please, there's not a lot of people that gone on the virtual auction. Again, really cool stuff on it. It's on the website, the link. Take a look at the virtual auction items and, bid if you like, look if you like, browse, whatever. But thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Janice. Mike Kudamont, just when you got your mouth full, you want to come up? We've got a presentation to make.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have our guest here, Alden Crowley. We're going to be doing a presentation. We're cooperating with their organization, another Joy Foundation. They are transporting 100 Apple laptops and iPad to the Philippines for homeless kids. Okay, they're doing the transportation and they're collaborating with the Manny Pacquiao Foundation in the Philippines, who's gonna take over and receive this and give this to the homeless kids that they have there. So it's my pleasure to present to Alden a check of $2,000 on behalf of the Rotary Club Foundation.
Thank you very much. We greatly appreciate the support for the Educate to Elevate program with Manny Pacquiao. Our foundation, I'm originally, we're in the aviation industry. We provide asset management programs for airlines around the world. And we started an NGO, another Joy Foundation, to utilize resources in our industry to transport aid around the world at no cost or at a fraction of the cost. So together with our partners such as Boeing, FedEx, Emirates Airlines, and numerous other large industry leaders, we've delivered including Las Vegas Rotary Club, we've delivered tons of aid valued at over $100 million. So it's a blessing to work with you guys, and we appreciate the support.
And Rotarians, we have a volunteer opportunity. We're going to be loading these laptops to the airplane who's going to bring this to the Philippines April 15. The time will be determined, but we're going to help. We need volunteers to help loading this equipment to an airplane. So it's going to be in a tarmac Harry Reid. So Henderson Airport. So watch out for that. It will come out for a volunteer sign up. Okay. So thank you again, Alden.
Thank you, Alden. Don't forget your check. I'd like to take a minute and thank the people that set up for the meeting today. Kathy Mahan and Bob Warner, as always, come early and set the tables up for us. Andrew Thurlow and Debbie Howard at the door greeting people. Bob Pizer volunteers to do the ticket sales. Jason Federico is our scribe. Our photographer, past President Jim Tucker, and David Jones on AV, and Stu Lipoff, always on AV, and Larry Kahn and Michael Williams helping us clean up after the meeting today. And Michael asked me to ask for prayers and thoughts for Marcella Gill, who's a former member of our club. She fell and broke her shoulder and her hip, is not doing well, so please keep her in your thoughts. I'm going to go ahead and do the drawings for today. We have a check to present because our pot is empty again. Thank you, Brock. Jim Tucker. Jim Tucker won the pot. So here is your check for a whopping $430. Okay. The ticket to draw for the pot today, that's back to $500 since it got won again. The ticket number is 1593908. Steve Kwan. I think he must be buying lots of tickets because he was just here. All right, so it rolls over till next week. The ticket for $50 in Lowry bucks is 6689230. Jerry Engel. And today we're drawing 2 tickets for tickets to the gala that Tom Thomas had donated. And we're doing 2 today because it's the last day to get on the seating chart. So 6689475. So read your tickets. 6689475. Okay, we're going to have to do this again. All right. 6689232. Jerry? Okay. All right, you get your picture taken again. That's all you get. Okay. Sean will have your name on the list. A ticket to the gala. Okay, good. The first ticket was 6689475. Oh, okay. All right, Sean, do another one. Thank you. And it is 6689241. Come on. 6689241. Seriously, you guys? Oh. We got a winner. Wake up. Okay, I'm going to ask Greg McGuire to come up and introduce our speaker.
All right, thank you, President Katie. First of all, I'd like to point out that President Katie has been making the rounds on all the news channels. Sarah, are you here? She stepped out. Sarah, Katie is having so much fun doing this that she wants to do it for like the next 3 weeks after the gala. So that's what she told me anyway. She's probably not going to. So I had the honor of introducing our speaker a couple weeks ago, and he kind of talked about the future of Nevada and Las Vegas and where it's going to go. And if you remember, one of the things he talked about was they're going to try and bring this bank to Las Vegas, and it was called Silicon Valley Bank. You remember that? That day, that Thursday, is when the whole thing imploded. So anyway, we can check that one off. We're not doing that anymore. Okay. But today we got a great speaker, Mark Hall Patton. He's been with us before, and he's going to talk not about the future really, but about the past and how we got here. And you can read what Mark's done, but he was a museum administrator for over he retired in 2021. He's been in charge of multiple types of museums. Previously with Clark County for 28 years. He's published over 450 articles. 85 monographs on local histories and 48 local history videos. He's also, just like Ryan is, Ryan Hamilton, he's also consulted many times by the Pawn Stars people to say, hey, can you tell us about this product? And so we got now two people that, are on TV with the Pawn Stars. He's done a lot for Nevada. I'm going to let him kind of talk to you about what he's done. He's a member of the board of Nevada Test Site Historical Foundation, the Aerospace Hall of Fame. I'm not yet in there, but hopefully you put in a good word for me. And he was in 2022 honored as the Distinguished Nevadan of the Year by the Nevada System of Higher Education. With that, Mark, welcome you back.
Thanks. All righty. Now, just to start out, you guys are partially why I'm here. When they started the Aviation Museum at the airport here, which is still here, who started it? Well, there was this conversation between a lady that you may have heard of, Peg Crockett. Yeah, but the conversation was between Peg and Bob White. Yeah. But they decided that Peg had a bunch of stuff that was part of the history of the airport. And they had a bunch of exhibits, art exhibits at the airport. Bob Broadbent didn't like them. So he was looking to do something else there. There was a lawsuit against the airport, the friendly one. And she, there was, but it's okay. But yeah, and yeah. But anyways, they okay. I think they can hear me anyways, but that's okay. But anyways, the fact was the decision was made by the airport, by the Department of Aviation. I say the airport, it's the Department of Aviation, that they would start a museum. But the Department of Aviation isn't a museum. It runs airports, oddly enough. And so they made an agreement with the Department of Parks and Recreation. But part of what got this whole thing started was some money that came in as donations. You guys were one of the major donations. You made a major donation for this new museum. That leveraged getting the museum started. Then they put out a call for people to apply for this new job. Now, at the time, I was running the museums in San Luis Obispo, California, and I applied for it. I'd never run an aviation museum. I'd never created one. I wasn't even going to apply for it. My wife said, why not? I said, because I don't run aviation museums. I run local history museums. I run them all over the country. And she said, is there anything in that call that you haven't done? I said, no. She said, well, send in a resume. I said, okay, fine, whatever. It's a 29-cent stamp, a long time ago. And I went ahead and applied. Then they sent me the county application, which goes on for like 35 pages or something. And I said, I'm not going to fill this thing out. She said, send it in. You don't argue with your wife. So I sent it in. I came over here and applied. Lo and behold, you guys got me. And yeah, thank you. So I got over here and I was told, guess what? You're building a museum. Okay, it was my second time. I created the Anaheim Museum in Anaheim, California at another point in my career. Yeah, thank you. Somebody who was from Anaheim. Cool. I'm from Orange County as well, fourth generation. Yeah. Cool. Anyway, so I came over here, and that's how I ended up becoming the expert on local aviation history. Everything else under the sun, and in terms of local history. So you guys, if I say something wrong, it's your fault. Just want you all to know that. So anyways, let's talk about local aviation history. And by the way, if I go too long, Katie, you can tell me to shut up. It's okay. I've been married 44 years now. I'm used to being told to shut up. It's okay. And by the way, my wife is a professor at UNLV. She's got the doctorate. I don't. She's the smart one in the family. Want everybody to know that. So when you look at aviation history, well, if you look at history in the Vegas Valley, it revolves around two things. One is water. Why we are here is because of water. That is what brought people to this valley. Not the river, not the lake, but water in the valley here. That's what brought the Indians here. That's what brought the first Mexicans here. The old Spanish trail was not Spanish. It was not old. It was a new Mexican trail. But John Charles Fremont didn't know what he was naming, and he got it wrong. Still call it that, but he got it wrong. But the second thing is it was transportation. Transportation is always a major part of what we have needed. So we started out with, like I say, the old Spanish trail, either old or Spanish, always remember that. And then we had other overland trails, and we got the railroad, and we got the highways. But in 1920, we got the first airplane coming in. Curtis Jennings, that flew up from Needles, California. A fellow named Randall Henderson, he's a newspaper publisher. He learned to fly in World War I, never made it overseas, stayed in the military in order to finish his training to become a pilot. Talked to local real estate agent or dealer in Needles into buying a military surplus Jenny. And he said, if you will buy it, I will put it together, teach you to fly if I can use it when you're not using it. And he liked being the first guy to fly into desert communities. So he decided to fly into this little tiny town called Las Vegas. Took him 3 stops to make it from Needles to Las Vegas. And he carried a passenger. He carried Jake Beckley. And Jake Beckley telegraphed his niece, a lady named Virginia. Well, you knew Virginia Beckley Richardson. When she was 4 years old, her uncle flew as a passenger in the first flight to Las Vegas flew over the Beckley house and dropped her a doll. First flight, yes, really. And she had all of her friends over, and they were so excited that everybody grabbed the doll. Everybody wanted to get a hold on that doll, and they tore its head off. Unfortunately, the doll doesn't exist, but it was a little clown doll, and the doll's outfit is in the county museum. We have this. So the first flight to Las Vegas not only carried a passenger, but it was a bombing run. But they got in here, and this was a big deal. We finally got a flight here. This was something really neat. We liked aviation. You know, we had an airfield that was just a scrape area right along the Arrowhead Trail Highway coming into Las Vegas. We don't know exactly where it was, but we think it was probably somewhere close to the first airport. And we decided that we needed an airport. Even though we'd only had one flight here, we were excited as a community. We needed an airport. So by Thanksgiving of 1920, the first airport was built here. Now, does anybody know where the first airport was? Okay. Not Sahara, but behind the Sahara. Yes, Sahara in Paradise. And if you see where the plaque is, it's in the wrong place. If you see where the plaque is, it's in the city of Las Vegas. That's not where it was. It was actually where the parking lot is directly behind the Sahara, which is in the county. But the city of Las Vegas put in a plaque, and they wanted it in the city, so they put it in the wrong place. Well, I won't say that the city and the county don't always get along, but, you know, it does sometimes happen. But they actually opened that on Thanksgiving Day, 1920. We got our first airport. Had a big celebration, actually brought in by train the smallest airplane that was flying at that time. It was an airplane called Poison, Dose One Drop. And they brought in this plane, and it was doing a display flight, and it crashed because nobody was killed, nobody was harmed in it, but it turned out somebody had put glycerin in the oil, and it in effect poisoned the plane. Oops. But the area, the community really liked the idea of aviation. Walter Barney came down in 1922, started a plane manufacturing company here. Didn't take off, so to speak. It didn't actually work. Walter Barney later on created Barney Speed Lines, which became United Airlines. He was here in 22. The first airplane, oh, by the way, I should point this out. In 1923, Amelia Earhart was here. Not flying. She bought a gypsum mill out by Moapa. And she and her family came over to run it. She had an overseer who knew what he was doing and ended up getting killed in LA in an auto accident. She and her father and her sister tried to run the mill and ended up losing them. But she was here before she started making her name as a pilot. It's actually in Southern Nevada. The first airport, by the way, was known as Anderson Field because it was on the Anderson family property, some of their property. This is the Anderson Dairy family. But in 1925, a new airline was created in LA. A fellow named Pop Hanshoe. It was called Western Air Express. And he created the airline because he knew he could make money because the post office department had created something called contract airmail routes. They were going to send mail by air. And they were not going to send mail by air because it was going to be that much faster. They were going to send mail by air as a way for the federal government to underwrite airlines. It was one of the ways that the federal government was giving money to companies that really worked, that helped to create the commercial air system in the United States. Well, Pop Handshoe saw that there was a commercial air route that was laid out that was going to go from Los Angeles to Las Vegas to Salt Lake City, contract airmail route 4. And there was no company that was going to take that. So he created a brand new airline to take over that route, not to carry people, but to carry airmail. It was going to be Western Air Express. And so he came over here to start negotiating with the folks that owned the airport here. At that point, the airport had been purchased by the Rockwell brothers. So it had become Rockwell Field. Renamed it after themselves. They bought it. And Rockwell Field was that spot right behind the Sahara, what is now the Sahara Hotel. And they started flying in there in 1926. April 17th, 1926 was the first flight here. By the way, the reminiscence of that negotiation was that it took place over the kitchen table in the Rockwell house. It was not some highfalutin thing. It was just, okay, let's sit down and talk and figure out what the costs are going to be and what do you have here. There was no terminal there or anything like that. It was like, okay, yeah, you can land here and we'll have somebody come out with a gasoline truck or a truck with a tank on the back and they'll pump gasoline into your plane and that sort of thing. But it worked. And in 1926, we got our first commercial airline. We have never been without one since. Was what started that whole part of our history. You might think, okay, we've got airmail. Woo-hoo. What about passenger service? That didn't take long. In May of 1926, we got the first passengers here. There's two guys, Walter Hamilton, Ben Redmond and J.A. Thompson. These two guys, because in order to fly at that point, these were not enclosed planes. These were open cockpit planes. And so they showed up, they had bought their tickets. And by the way, if you bought tickets at that point and there was too much mail, you didn't fly. Mail flew because they made more money on the mail than they did on carrying a passenger. But there was enough space for the two guys. So they gave them some coveralls, just whatever was around. They had oil on them. Do that. They got their dirty coveralls. They hopped into the Ford cockpit. You might wonder why the Ford cockpit, because at that point, those are tail draggers. And when you're flying, it's the back cockpit that you could see out. You could see what you were doing. Forward cockpit is where you put all the mail, all the boxes, and your passengers if you had them. So you put them in the forward cockpit, you got whatever you could get. They would give you a leather cap to put on your head, some goggles. You got to fly. Woo. Now, wasn't very long later, less than a month. This was May 23rd, the first passengers.
June 10th for the first female passenger. She got in Salt Lake City and flew all the way down here to Las Vegas and then over to Los Angeles. She was interested. Her name was Maud Kemp. And she paid $180 for the flight. She was 21, and she didn't tell her folks that she was going. She didn't tell her folks that she was flying to Los Angeles until she got to Los Angeles. She called back and said, "Oh, by the way, folks, I'm in Los Angeles. I flew here." They weren't real happy with her. Now, Pancho knew what this was going to look like. He had actually flown a woman on his airline up from Salt Lake City all the way to LA. So she got clean coveralls, very nice cap, clean goggles. And as they were flying down, she yelled back to the pilot, I need to go to the bathroom. What should I do? He handed her a can. According to her reminiscence, she said, "I decided to hold it." But when they landed here in Las Vegas, Anshu was waiting, or he wasn't waiting here, he was waiting in LA, but even here, he had somebody waiting with a bouquet of flowers to hand her. They got into LA, she was given a bouquet of flowers. They had photographs taken to show that this was safe for anybody to fly. This was a big deal. Aviation was coming into its own. This was a big deal. The first time that Amelia Earhart actually flew over here was 1928. We had already lost the gypsum mill. That had gone away by 24. But in 28, she actually flew over here and noted that this wasn't her first time to have been here. And in 1929, something very, it was lucky that it happened. A fellow named Peter Aloysius Pop Simon decided to build a new airport. It's going to the airport at Sahara was way out of town anyway. Rockwell Field was way out of town, but it was going away, it turned out. It was being purchased by somebody who was putting together a large amount of property, and it was going to be turned into a resort. And there's Peter Aloysius Pop Simon didn't know about that, but he decided that we needed another airport. Some of you remember Pop's Oasis out in Jean. That's the same guy. You've seen Mountain Pass, you've seen the rare earths mine up there. Pop Simon found that. One of the guys that found that stuff. Pop Simon founded Simon, Nevada. He owned the Tachatacup mine for a while. Interesting guy. Got into it, involved in a lot of things. One of the things he did was he decided to found a new airport here in 1929. Way east of town, east of Las Vegas. Miles out of town. About 4 miles from Las Vegas. And okay, he founded Simon Field. Not a big place, but it was okay, another airport here. And then it turned out that Rockwell Field was sold. Well, Western Air Express is still flying. It's our only airline, but it needs an airport. So they negotiated with Simon, and they take over the airport. So that works. They start flying out of there, and then gaming becomes legal. So if you're an airline, you're in Las Vegas, what do? They put in slot machines. And during the 1930s, for 2 years, in the 1930s,
the only money Western Air Express made, the only profit they made was off the slot machines at, at Western Air Express Field in Las Vegas. Everything else was a break-even for Western Air Express. It continued to work, but in the early part of the 30s, a couple of things happened. Western Air Express was forced to merge with Transcontinental Air Transport. It was the federal government forced this. And it created a new company called Transcontinental and Western Airlines and allowed Western Air Express to exist only with its original route, LA, Las Vegas, Salt Lake City. Because Western Air Express had become one of the largest airlines in the United States. It wasn't just here, throughout the Western states. But it was forced to merge. And the Transcontinental and Western Airlines took most of their people, most of their equipment, and most of their routes, except that original route. So what we think of as TWA, Trans World Airlines, was originally Transcontinental and Western Airlines. And it didn't come to Las Vegas. It bypassed Las Vegas because Western Airlines was here. But they had their little airport just outside, miles outside of town. And in 1933, we got another airport. It was down in that little place called Boulder City, called Bullock Field. And people would try to create new airlines to come in here. We had Nevada Airlines at one point. And that was the first one. That was actually created in LA. That was the first one that connected Las Vegas and Reno. But you had to go through LA. There's no direct flights between Las Vegas and Reno. So there and back. That one was kind of funny. It was known as the Alameda Station. You took that one. Well, you know, they knew where they were. But they did try that. And this is going through the 1930s. And finally, towards the end of the 1930s, TWA decided that they were going to start flying in here. But they're not going to go to Western Air Express Field because they still didn't like Western Air Express. Western Air Express really didn't like TWA. So they decided that they were going to fly into, okay, I've got to, see, this is my problem. I can keep going forever on this thing. Yeah, okay. Trust me, they ended up flying into Boulder City and didn't start flying into the new airport until after World War II. TWA, or Western Air Express Field, becomes what we think of as the first, well, not to think of, it becomes the first McCarran Airport, and that is then taken over by the federal government. That is today Nellis Air Force Base. That name, that then is our commercial field during World War II. And after World War II, that is moved over to a new airport that was created between 1941 and 1943 that was known as Alamo Airport and was created by George Crockett. And that one is, the lease is taken over by the county because the city can't find any other place to put a new airport here when they're going to reopen the military base, the Air Force Base. And they take the name from McCarran Airport and move it over to McCarran Field. And it becomes McCarran Airport, which then starts building up. We're going to stop at that point. If you want to hear the rest of the story, you can be back. And I'll take any questions at this point.
Okay, questions? Hey, Mark? Mark?
Yes.
Yeah, I have a question myself since I'm
Sure.
here. So I was a new Rotarian in the later 90s.
Yeah.
And we had the Rotary Museum at the airport.
Oh,
And
it's
then it
still
got
there.
changed to
Yeah.
the Howard Cannon Museum.
Well, it was never named the Rotary Airport, but the Rotary sign is still out.
Right,
Yeah.
okay. All right, thank you for
Because
clearing that.
the name of it at that point was the McCarran Aviation History Exhibit, and it was the McCarran Aviation History Museum. And then it was officially named the Howard W. Cannon Aviation Museum. And that's because while the airport was named for Patrick McCarran, who was one of the two most important senators in the history of the United States for his impact on aviation, on commercial aviation and military aviation history of the US. The other most important senator for their impact on aviation was Howard W. Cannon, also from Nevada. He's the one that deregulated the airlines. And it's important to note that when the airlines were deregulated, the number of airlines that could come into McCarran jumped from 7 to 14 over the course of 1 year, and then just blew up from there. The number of passengers going through McCarran went from 8 million to 10.4 million over the course of 1 year. That's a 25% increase in 1 year, to get a sense of what deregulation of the airlines did. And it happened throughout the United States.
Okay,
So
thank
that's
you.
where the name came.
Question?
Yeah.
Great presentation, thank you. A
Thank
little bit newer history, but someone who was a great part of Las Vegas history was Kirk Kerkorian.
Oh, yes.
And his start was in flying people here on junkets. And he was an inveterate gambler himself. And we all know the rest of the story with the International Hotel. But Kirk Kerkorian was a major part of aviation here.
And Kirk Kerkorian did quite a bit for taking military surplus aircraft and reworking them into civilian for civilian use, and then selling them to the new startup airlines right after World War II. Bonanza used a lot of his aircraft. So yes, I'm very familiar with that. I didn't get to that part of it. But yeah. Yep.
Mark, thanks for being here. As I understand it, the Pat McCarran Civil Aviation Authority is the group that forced TWA to move from Boulder to McCarran by closing the Boulder airport because it was too small. Is there any politics behind perhaps that happening?
That was a safety issue. That was much more of a safety issue because that was post World War II. The reality was, there's a couple of things in there. One, the death of Carol Lombard came because of TWA flying into Boulder City. But when they came in on her flight, there were no lights at night at Boulder City. So they had to fly into Western, or what was then McCarran Airport, the Western Air Express Field. And when they went out of there, they were using a flight chart based on Boulder City. So they were off by 2 points. And they flew into double up peak because they were flying at night. There was no lighting. So there was a number of things by flying out of Boulder City was not safe. So they really had to move there. So I don't think it was really a political issue. It's much more of a safety issue.
Okay, question over here.
Yeah.
First of all, I want to thank you so much for all this information.
Thank you.
I am a pilot, and I've been a pilot for 45 years. I have flown out of North Las Vegas all those years, kept my airplane there. And I never knew this much information. I didn't know where the first airport was. But anyway, I really want to thank you for all this.
Thank you. And I have to tell you, North Las Vegas Airport was open on December 7th, 1941. So you may notice that date. That was the first time we ever closed all airspace in the United States. That was when we were attacked at Pearl Harbor. And it was completed and finished by Florence Murphy, woman,
who was also the first female vice president of a scheduled airline in the United States. Fascinating.
One last
as well.
question.
Yeah.
Do we know who actually filled up the gas for those navigation arrows with the spinning lights every 10 miles?
They had different contractors for each one. They would contact with somebody locally. That was the night airway beacons. I've tracked a number of those. But yeah, they would normally contract with somebody local to do that. It was individual contract. Now they would probably, if it was dealing with a large ranch area, they would contract with whoever could pick up a number of them. But yeah, what he's talking about are the night airway beacons starting in the 1920s before we had radio that could contact aircraft. They set up giant concrete arrows and nighttime beacons so that you could fly at night and you would follow and during the day, but you could fly at night, follow the beacons. And if you followed the beacons one way, it was one color, you follow them the other way, it was another color, and you would be able to fly at night in order to make it all the way across the country on the contract airmail routes. And if you were flying during the day, and you still find these, people always discover these and are sure that they need, I don't know, aliens, idiot things like this. But there's the arrows are giant arrows. They're about 24 feet long that are cast into the ground out in the desert. So you can still go out and find them. Sorry, I'll let you go now.
Mark, thanks. It's always a pleasure to have you here. I would like to present you with our Soul Power Award, which represents a pair of shoes to a needy child in your name. And I would also like to present you a copy of our Centennial Rotary book. So
Thank you.
thank you so much for being here.
Thank you all.
There's a meeting of the Centennial Committee after this meeting. Meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.